Fred here, welcome back to the Gear Obsession channel. What I have here for you today is the Leatherman Rev. The Rev is Leatherman's budget full-size multi-tool and features 14 tools, even though the package says 13. I did provide a link in the description box below for Amazon, selling it for, right now, $30. I thought you'd like to take a look at the packaging before I rip it open. And if you'd like to freeze frame that at any time, please feel free. You can see it lists 13 features, but they're actually 14 because they missed the wire stripper, which is listed on their website under the specifications. So, main error. Some of the, maybe there's new packaging out there. I had originally picked this particular one up at Walmart, but again, Amazon, it's cheaper for $30. Now, throughout this video, I'm going to be comparing the Rev to maybe the Wingman, which I happen to have here, and they almost have an identical tool set with the exception of one or two things. Now, one of the tools that the Rev has is this package opener. So I could demonstrate that by opening the very package that it's in that I'm doing the review on, so you can see how this works. So this is probably the tool that I find the most useless, because you could actually do this just with a blade itself. But you know, for whatever it's worth, I'll demonstrate how that works. There's a lot of turns. There we go. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. Alright. Can I get it open? Yeah. Okay, so that's how that tool works. Helps you get into this blister pack without cutting your fingers. Alright, so there we go. There's probably something else in here. Here it is. So let's see. We have, looks like a user guide. Right there, and the thing that sets the door alarm off hidden in there. And also, if you're paranoid like me, they're tracking you. They're tracking you everywhere. So there's two things I noticed right away out of the box. First thing, one of the sides is thicker than the other. That's the first thing I noticed. Second thing, the clip has a slight bit of movement back and forth. I mean, it's in there tight. The reason why is because the little piece that comes down and goes into the notch in the hole is probably a little bit narrower than the hole. So it sort of moves a little bit back and forth. I'll bring in the Leatherman Wingman, and it does it to a much lesser extent, if not at all. So just a comparison there. No movement. Another thing I noticed right off the bat is that this guy's spring-loaded. This guy is not spring-loaded. So a couple of ways that they kept the price down, because this is a budget multi-tool. I'm going to roll on the light here a little bit. Is that they saved on a spring, which I'm not a huge fan of anyway. I could do without the spring because I have enough dexterity in my hand that when I come up on a nut, I can open it up like that and then just bring it around. It's fine. Now, if I had to use this a lot, then maybe spring. But generally, this is not your primary tool. This is sort of an everyday carry kind of thing to do a little bit of everything now and then. That's really how I look at multi-tools personally. You may, you know, think differently, which is fine. Now, the clip is replaceable. Closed length is 3.8 inches. Get that out of the frame there. The weight is 5.9 ounces, so it's one of the lightest full-size multi-tools, and it is the lightest full-size multi-tool that Leatherman has. And when I say full-size multi-tool, you know, I know Leatherman has the Charge and those other ones, and those are considered medium, even though this is pretty close. Blade steel. Let's deploy the blade. It does have a deployable blade from the outside. You don't have to open it. This is another thing that's kind of different. I want to show you something here. Now, to deploy the blade in the Rev, you have a nail nick right here, all the way down on the end of the blade here. So if you want to get that out, it's not a single-handed deal. You got to operate it like a nail nick on a knife with a nail nick, just like that. And it opens up, and it is a similar blade shape than you find on many of the other Leatherman. However, this has a full flat grind, whereas the Wingman has a combo blade where it's partially serrated. I do prefer actually what we get here on the Rev, which is kind of nice. So you have a little bit of a weird thing going on there, sort of like a modified drop pointer or Warcliffe or whatever. It's its own thing. You do have a hollow grind that goes halfway up. The steel is 428C, keeps it edge reasonably well, and it holds it. And it's easy to sharp too after. Does it come sharp? Well, we could do that paper test right now while we have it out. And right there it is push cutting. So, oops. Cuts reasonably well, reasonably sharp. Does it hold on to my nail? Barely. So it's sharp, but it's not super razor sharp. Does it cut hair? It's not shaving sharp. It got a couple of hairs there. I don't know if you can see that right there. It has a little bit of skin. Now at this point you might be asking yourselves, why don't I just get the Wingman so far, because you've been dissing the Rev so much? Well, there's a price difference. Generally, the Wingman is $5 to $10 more than the Rev. It started out the same price as the Rev. Years ago, the Wingman used to be $30, but because of increased manufacturing costs and materials and everything, they had to raise the price on this as well as the sidekicks, and now they cost $5 to $10 more. So they had to fill the gap. So they created the Rev, and they got rid of one tool. For instance, on the Wingman, you got scissors that you don't have on here. If you were to get the sidekick, you would have a saw, but you don't get it there. That's why this one side is thinner than the other, because they took out either the saw or the scissor, depending on which one you're comparing it to. And again, these cost $5 to $10 more. And they are a little bit heavier. Another important thing to bring up is that this is made in the USA. It's made in Oregon, and it comes with a 25-year warranty. So that's kind of nice and kind of rare these days, because I mean, you could go and get other brands that are in the same price range, like the low-end full-size Gerber would be the suspension. But with the suspension, although the build quality is up there, you can see on my set the head sort of rocks back and forth a little bit. Also, it's a very bulky tool that doesn't make very efficient use of space. You can see all the space between the tools. See how it has spaces in between it. And with the Leatherman, everything is just fit closer with tighter tolerances, as you can see right there. So it's time to take you through all the individual tools. So I could show you it does actually have 14. So you have your Needlenose Pliers, your regular pliers, and you have your cutters. They classify this as soft and hard cutters. You can see there's like a little hole there on the bottom and up there. So they call it hardwire cutters and then wire cutters. Does it cut wire? Well, we could see. This is the type of cutters, by the way. They don't meet. They sort of go over a little bit, so you can go ahead and cut some wire, and you can see how that works with no problem. You know, it's just for thin wire, for nothing special. You can actually strip with this, although it does have a stripper in it that we'll try out here also. Also with the head, no back and forth. It's very tight. No movement back and forth, which is nice. The other thing is that the tip touches before the rest of it. So you can see it's fully closed, just like that. So it doesn't completely touch all the way down on the needle nose. It is nice and thin, so you gotta do some fine work. You're not gonna have an issue. As a matter of fact, while I got the tool here, I could demonstrate real quick that it can work. I'm turning a screw there. We can tighten it up a little bit more. So, works very well. So let's take a look at the skinny side. And you can see how they added this little groove right there so you could pull the tools out and they're clumped together, so they basically all come out at once, and then you'll just split them up and decide which one you want to use. You can see you have a large flathead and you have a skinny but 3D-ish Phillips screw, and we can see if that works real quick. You can see that this is sort of, it's non-locking, so it does spring and hold, but it's just held with spring tension. But it is pretty good. And we could get that same screw, and I can put it in there, and you can see that that works fine. And you could close the tool when you're using this to sort of make it a little bit easier to screw things. There we go. See? So it works real nice. Actually, that works better than I thought it would. We'll go ahead and slide that back in. And again, the only tool that locks out of this whole thing is the knife. I do want to show you that one more time. Sort of like a liner lock. See that? Show you how that lockup looks. And there is a very slight up and down, no side to side, but lockup is solid enough. It's not going to come loose or anything. And we'll test out a couple of more things on this, by the way. By the way, I missed that it does have a sharpening choil right there. So that's kind of cool. Alright, let's go to the fat side tools. Again, they come out in a clump. So you pull one out, they all come out. I already demonstrated the package opener. And here is one of the most useless tools, and that is a ruler, a very short ruler in both inches and centimeters. Questionable how useful that is. And over here you have a small flathead screwdriver, and on this side you have a file. Now the file only has serrations, lack of a better term, in one way. It doesn't have a checker pattern one, as you can sort of see there. But does it work? Well, I can see if it does my nail here. Yeah. See, when I do my nail, it's trying to pull it down because the serrations are slotted like this. There we go. Alright. So, can you use it like a nail file even though it's not designed? Yeah. Can it do wood? Well, I have that same piece of wood that I've been screwing around with. Smooth out the edges here a little bit. So I'm going to smooth the bevels out. It's not the most functional. I would have liked it if it went, the serrations went in both ways. I'm sure there's a term for that when it only goes in one. So as you saw, or as you file, it's like trying to pull you over, but you can see that it does work. See how it's rounded as opposed to this side. Oh, nice. And there's some sawdust. I'll go ahead and close that tool. And what was the other tool that I did not get to yet? Ah, here we go. You have a can opener, and that could also be used as a bottle opener. You can, it might tear up the cap, but who cares? You're popping it. And when you use the can, you're gonna it punches into the can. Like, let me see. I got that. I'm not gonna open up the can, but I do have a can of spotted dick. And the way that you're going to use this is you put this part underneath the rim right there, and then you just punch down, and then you'll press down and it'll puncture, and then after you punctured all the way down like that, you're going to move this back a little more and just keep on rocking and then pulling back, rock, pull back, rock, pull back, rock, pull back, and it'll open up that can, and it works really good. And this is a tool that I definitely like to have on my multi-tools. I know some companies like to put just a bottle opener, But I actually prefer the can opener because you could open bottles with a can opener, but you can't open a can with a bottle opener, so I do like that. Now they also added a wire stripper right here, and that's what they forgot to put on the packaging. Why it's really 14 tools and not 13 tools. And you can see that you could strip. This is actually a poor example of wire stripping because this is not real wire. This is whoops. This is just wire tie, but trust me, these things work. But there we go. See that? So there's your wire stripper built in right there. So getting back to this ruler, I just forgot to point out that you can measure up to a huge length of 1.5 inches. So again, I think it's stupid. They could have put this type of file on one side and put the file with the double slots, you know what I'm talking about, on this side, so it could, or maybe make it a grit so it could be an actual nail file or something like that, instead of putting a very useless ruler like that. If you really wanted to make something where you can measure, then just run it across the side of one of the handles, just like the Swiss Army tool does. I think their Swiss, I forgot the name of it, but they have their super tool thing with the numbers on the outside. That would have been more useful and longer. Another thing I could have recommended is actually dump another tool. Instead of having one thin, one skinny, it would have been nice just to have a totally skinny tool to make it even more pocketable. So if I had to get rid of one tool out of this whole thing, I probably would have dumped the package opener because I rarely use these. I usually end up, you know, using the knife because I just like to, I like a little risk in my life, and opening up blister packs with knives is one of the things I like to keep my life exciting with. So I want to test this knife with a couple of more things. I do have some cardboard here, and it works well there. Also, we can see if I can feather some wood. Appears to be doing that rather well. So if you gotta do some kindling, it can work fine. You know, your thumb can rest here. It can function very well. Seems to do pretty good. Although I could feel that slight bit of movement there, but that's very typical with multi-tools. They're never, rarely do you find a multi-tool that has flawless lockup. They're usually just like this, all the way up to very expensive ones. As a matter of fact, let me see. I got a Leatherman Wave here, which when I bought it was around $70. You could probably get them cheaper now. Let me see how the lockup is on this. Is there a little up and down play? Actually, ain't no play. Ain't no play on that one. So that's kind of neat. But you could. But remember I was talking about it would have been nice if they put the hole in a logical place here. Like you can't open this up one-handed. If they would have put the hole closer, they could have made it where you could do that. They even did that with the Wingman. Whoops, I'm trying to pull on the wrong thing here. There it is. You can see. Is there any play on here? Yeah, same play. Same type of lockup because it's almost an identical tool. So here's my opinion on the whole thing. For $30, I feel that the tool is good and worth it, and I would recommend it if that's all you got and you can't afford the $5 more to go ahead and get the Wingman. On the other hand, back years ago, maybe 5-10 years ago, Leatherman used to have the Leatherman Kick as their budget guy, and let me tell you, this is leaps and bounds over the Kick, which to me had a great head. However, the really thin metal that they used here, and then they tried to put some plastic liner in there, felt extremely cheap, low budget, crappy, and I would have not recommended it. It just felt hollow and cheap, and no tools are accessible outside, and it felt terrible. And they had the Blast, which was the same kind of design, but they had locks on the ends. But again, this might have been actually more, had a lot more tools, but again, felt kind of chintzy and the edges sort of dug in your hand, and I don't know. Not spring loaded either. I'm not a big fan of spring loaded because you know what happens? Sometimes those springs break and create problems. It's better just if you could get along without them. It's better because it's just one less thing to fail. So to me, that's no deal breaker. As far as comfort when bearing down on this, you may choose which side you want the skinnier part of it on. And actually, believe it or not, this feels like it's digging in my hand right here. Right there for some reason. So when I put the skinnier part up in the meat of my hand here, it actually feels very comfortable. So believe it or not, skinny part up here feels more comfortable. Tell me if you have this, if you experience the same thing. It's kind of weird. And again, you got those needle nose, very precise, no play. I do like that. And you could feel the wire cutters do meet, and they have a good, you know, they're definitely touching very tightly together. There's no looseness between them, which means it cuts wires really good, as you can see there. So that's the good and the bad. Hopefully Leatherman go ahead and take a couple more dollars off and get rid of that other tool, and then make a Leatherman Rev Slim, or just call it the Slim. How about you could use that? You don't even have to pay me. I'll call you. Just do me a favor. If you make the Slim, make sure you put the thumb hole up here so we can get back our one-handed thing instead of using the nail nick with a two-handed version there. Oh, the other thing I like is they kept the adjustability of screws right here, so if you have to tighten things up, you can still do that. Yay! And the clip is removable. So with all its flaws, do I recommend it? Sure, I still recommend it, because as I sit here with this close-up, you can see that it's still very well built and very tight, and none of the flaws that I described keep it from fulfilling its function, and that's to give you a budget full-size tool. And if it does have the tools that you want in your tool set on you all the time, then this is a viable option. There is no quality control issues. Everything is nice, tight, fit, finish is all there, while keeping that price of $30. I'd also like to remind you that if you like my style of review and my boring personality, and you use it to fall asleep or to actually get information on the products I'm reviewing, please feel free to like, subscribe, click on the bell, and also if you're actually interested in buying the product, go ahead and click on the affiliate link that I provided below and check it out. Now, if there's someplace else cheaper that you can find it, then go for it. I want you to get the best price, but check it out. Alright, thank you very much for joining me here at the Gear Obsession channel. I really do appreciate every friend, viewer, subscriber, and especially you, and I hope you have a great day or evening. Take care. Bye.